Hi everyone, this is Todd with the Prepper website, and welcome to another edition of Commentary and Stuff, raw, unedited, and with a lot of ums. The commentary and stuff is basically I look at some of the articles that I've posted over the week on the website and pull them up and try to give them a little bit more life out there. And if people, after a while, the articles they fall off my columns, and so they live a little bit longer in video, and definitely they live longer on the websites that are holding them, the authors that have written them. So anyway, here we go. Before I start, though, I want a big shout out and appreciation to Buy Emergency Foods. These guys have been a great friend to the website, and I just really appreciate them. If you go and you'll click on their website and you get a little bit of information about the foods and the legacy foods that they sell, and check them out. They also do other things other than food. So they've got the water, the power, survival kits. But I just really appreciate them. So if you get a minute, go check out their website. Say hi. All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, at rethinksurvival.com, we linked to a video about a doctor's perspective of 9mm versus 45 versus rifle, and it's a little graphic, so there's a warning. There's some graphic pictures there if you can stomach it. I didn't think it was too bad, but some people might. And he talks a little bit about just wounds and in gunshot wounds, 45s, 40s, 9 millimeters, how people can walk away from those very very easily, and the damage done to tissue and the inside and the bullet blowing up and all that kind of stuff inside. Rifles. Basically, what he says is rifles. If you get hit by rifles, you're gonna really get torn up really really bad. But when he gets statistics and stuff. But when you talk about gunshot wounds, a lot of people, I mean, you can survive from those if you can, and the doctors know, and the emergency rooms know, they can get you in there immediately. And the big thing there is to stop the bleeding if it doesn't hit something major. So I think this is a worthwhile. It's 34 minutes, but it's over at Rethink Survival. I'll have links to all the different articles in the notes section, so you can go check them out. And I think it's definitely worth the view. Over at Prepper Ideas, talks a little bit about how to make a ghillie suit, and I think it's good. What and I would like to see pictures. I would, even video, right, would be cool. I mean, there is a picture down here of someone, wearing a ghillie suit that's concealed. I think the big takeaway here is it's not really hard to do it. I mean, he talks about it here. Of course, I think these are basic instructions, but with a little bit of time and a little bit of effort, I mean, you can make one. And I don't know how important it is to have a ghillie suit. We those of us in preparedness, we run the gamut from, preparing the food, the water, that kind of stuff, to all the way to the extreme bugging out type stuff. But I just thought it was interesting, and if you have time and you want a hobby, I think, or something, a project to do, I think it'd be something kind of cool to do, right? All right, moving on. Over at Survival and Beyond, Ed Cochran had Majory Wildcraft on his show, and I listened to a little bit of that. But then he has an article here, and they talked about the leading causes of riots and civil unrest, and so I think this is a good article. But ultimately, when you get down to it, it's going to be the price of food. And researchers over at MIT, they looked at the price index from the UN Price Food Index, threw that on a graph, and then looked at riots, threw that on a graph. And what they found is that when food prices they pass a certain threshold, that riots ensue. And so you talk a little bit about that. They actually talk about, let me see, they go into the 2010 stuff that was going on, that these researchers saw that the food prices were going to increase in the Middle East, and then you had the issues over with the Arab Spring and all that kind of stuff. A lot of people, it wasn't necessarily all about democracy and all that stuff. It was more about the food. So definitely go take a look at that one. Jack over at the Survival Podcast did a great podcast on developing raw land into a homestead or a bug out location for the long haul. And I listen to Jack all the time, and he does. I mean, everything's really great coming from Jack. But this stems from a discussion that someone had. If you only had a couple of $1,000s to put into to a bug out location, what kinds of things would you do? And Jack starts off by talking about his ideas and the things that he would do now are different than what he's done in the past. But some of the things that they talk about is selecting the piece of land, and some of it is some of it's common sense, but some of it's stuff that you really don't think about. And one of the things is just, gosh, being patient and finding the right piece of land. But selecting the piece of land, most critical infrastructure things that you should do first, things that would be helpful, and then other things that you can do to just for your own bug out location and to make it what that's yours. But it's definitely a good listen to, and I would go check it out if you get the chance. I don't, I don't know if you just come over here and you can click it here, but I listen to it on my Android on the way to work. I have, I've talked about it before. I have an app called Beyond Pod, and I just download it right there and listen to it on the way to work. So it always works out right. Or Kendra over at New Life on a Homestead talks about homemade paint and the whitewash and milk paint, and she gives you some recipes here. So I think this is good because what did people do when they didn't have the Home Depot nearby that they could go to in the old days, and they made their own paint, a whitewash paint, and it's important to protect and to give a coating to wood structures. So you have a couple of different formulas here and recipes that you can take a look at, and some information that's pretty interesting. With basic stuff that you use. So anyway, go take a look at that. That might be important to know. Over at Prepography, a very short article, right? I mean, I'm sorry about that little beat. The kids are coming in and out of the house. Northern Hemisphere, using a watch to determine north and south. And this is just an infographic, but he talks about it a little bit here. Just puts it down on some, puts it down in words. For the northern hemisphere, point your hour hand at the sun. South is halfway between the hour hand and 12 o'clock position. If you're in the southern hemisphere, you point the 12 o'clock position on your watch at the sun. North is halfway between the 12 o'clock position and the hour hand. So that's good information to know. And it's over at Prepography. You can go check that out. All right, Common Sense Homesteading. This is a site that I've just recently added. I've added the other day. I added a lot of sites to it, and actually, this article was written by Dr. Hubbard over at Survival Doctor, but Lori over at Common Sense Homesteading is posting it, and she talked about honey, and then the thing is that these she posted the article. Dr. Hubbard talks about honey, and these are things that I really haven't seen written down about honey. I mean, you talk about honey's good for wounds, honey is good for this, honey is like that superfood, right? But how does honey prevent wounds and infections? And so it seals the wound. It's a mild acidic acid. It has lower water content. How honey kills bacteria, and so it talks a little bit about that. How honey heals. Seals in the good tissue fluid, provides nutrition, decreases inflammation. And then there's some concerns about honey, but I don't think that there's not a lot of information about that. It's just what researchers are thinking. And then there are some types of honey that are like the bacteria that they've been taken care of in the bacteria. The bad bacteria has been zapped clean of the bad bacteria, and so it's medical honey. And I actually went, and this is you can click on this and go to Amazon, and you can get it. I think it's about $19, but it's it would be like a special honey that you would use just for wounds if you wanted to go that route. But I thought that was kind of interesting, and how to use honey on wounds. So there's a lot of information there. I mean, honey is definitely one of those superfoods that you want to have. All right, LDS Prepper. I have posted one of his videos before when he was talking about his solar system, but here he actually walks you through the different components and he brings up the cost and the savings on a spreadsheet. So I thought this was pretty interesting. He talks about the wiring, brings it in, talks about the controller, the charge controller, the battery bank, even the wires, and then again the money that he actually put into the system, and how he can use it. So anyway, guys, that's it for this week. Again, thanks so much for watching the video. Thanks so much for coming to the website. I appreciate all your encouragement on the website, and those of you that are subscribing to the YouTube videos. So anyway, we'll see you next week. Thanks.